I got home around 11:30 that night, my steel-toe boots dragging with every step. Double shifts at the plant weren't rare, but they still wiped me out like hell. I dropped my gear bag by the door and kicked off my boots. The house was dark except for the soft glow coming from the living room. "Dad," Carrie's voice cracked before I saw her. She was curled up on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, hoodie sleeves covering her hands. Her eyes were red, and I didn't need the overhead light to see she'd been crying. "What's wrong?" I crossed the room, the exhaustion slipping away. "It's Ryan," she said quietly, brushing at her face. "He stole my laptop." I blinked. "What? My laptop? The one I saved up for?" "I went into my room earlier, and it was just gone." I asked him if he took it, and he just smirked. Said I could report him if I wanted. My stomach turned. He admitted it? She nodded, sniffling. He said, "Go ahead. Tell Dad. See if I care." I stood there stunned. Ryan was 18. A good kid, or so I thought. Yeah, he was moody sometimes, and kept to himself in that little music cave of his. But he'd never done anything like this. "He knows how important that laptop is," she whispered. "It was for the robotics trip. I spent all summer dog walking and tutoring just to buy it." My jaw clenched. Something about the way she said it, so defeated, so hurt, cut deeper than I expected. Ryan stealing from his little sister? After all I'd done to keep peace in this house? I felt like I'd been slapped. "Where is he now?" "He's out. I think he went to the diner with Danny again." I didn't respond. I just turned and headed down the hall toward his room. The door was shut, as usual. I flicked on the light and stepped inside. Ryan's music setup looked like a miniature radio station. Wires, mixers, synths, record shelves, organized by genre. I didn't understand half of it, but I knew it was valuable. He'd been building this thing since he was 13, saving every dollar, asking for parts at birthdays instead of gifts. And now he'd stolen from his sister. I stood in the center of his space, heart pounding. The trust I'd felt toward him just minutes ago was gone, replaced by a heavy knot of shame and disappointment. I started unplugging things. The synths, the mixers, the turntables. I took photos of the serial numbers, packed them into cardboard boxes, and loaded them into the back of my truck. The rare vinyls, hundreds of them, went next. By the time I was done, it was close to 1 a.m. I didn't wake my wife, didn't explain anything to Carrie. I just listed everything on a local community auction site, one post after another. Price to move, not to profit. By morning, I had dozens of messages. By noon, most of it was gone. Some guy drove in from Albany for the analog reel-to-reel. A retired DJ picked up the mixer. A kid from the community college came for the crates of vinyls. I knew I was getting pennies on the dollar, but that didn't matter. I wanted it gone. Ryan had stolen from his sister, and in my house. That had consequences. By 5 o'clock, the studio was empty, just dust outlines on the shelves where things used to sit. When Ryan got home, I was waiting in the kitchen. I didn't say anything, just pointed to the hallway. "Go look," I said. He looked confused but obeyed. I followed him, and when he opened his door, he froze. For a moment, all I saw was confusion on his face. Then silence. Complete, absolute silence. "I sold it," I said. He turned slowly. "What?" "I sold everything. The synths, the records, the mixer, gone. You don't get to steal from family." His mouth opened, but no words came out. I waited for the anger, the denial, the excuses, but none came. Ryan just walked past me without a word, down the hall, and shut the door to the bathroom. And me? I went back to the kitchen and sat down at the table, waiting for the guilt to pass. But it didn't. Not yet. Ryan got home a little after 6. I heard the front door creak open, keys hit the bowl, and his footsteps pause in the hallway. Then the sound of his bedroom door swinging open. "Dad." His voice rang out, confused, not angry. I stepped into the hall. He was standing in the doorway of his room, one hand still on the doorknob, staring at the empty shelves. "Where is it?" he asked. No heat in his tone, just hollow. "I sold it," I said. He turned to look at me. The confusion faded so fast I could practically see it drain from his face, replaced by a flat stillness I'd never seen before. "Why?" he said, voice even. "You know why." He blinked once, slowly. "No, I really don't." "You stole from your sister," I said. "You took her laptop, the one she bought with her own money. She confronted you, and you laughed in her face." His lips parted, like he was about to speak. Then he stopped. He didn't argue, didn't shout, just nodded to himself once, like he'd figured something out. Then he walked past me and down the hall, quiet as a ghost. His bedroom door shut, no slam, just a soft click. He didn't come out for dinner, didn't respond when I knocked, and said the food was ready. The next morning, I left early for work and came home to the same closed door. No music playing, which felt wrong. No plates in the sink. His shoes were still in the entryway, but it was like he'd vanished into the walls. Carrie sat at the kitchen table doing homework, earbuds in. I thought about saying something, about how Ryan would come around eventually, but the words felt thin. "Did you eat?" I asked instead. She nodded without looking up. By the time I was making coffee the next morning, the silence in the house felt too loud. I knocked again on Ryan's door. "I know you're hurt," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But what you did wasn't okay. You can't take from your sister like that. Actions have consequences." Nothing, not a sound. He skipped dinner again. I told myself he needed time, that maybe he'd cool off by the weekend. I still believed, stupidly, that I'd done the right thing. It was Thursday night when it all unraveled. I was in the garage checking tire pressure when I heard soft voices in the kitchen. My wife, Tessa, and Carrie. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but one sentence stopped me cold. "I can't believe it actually worked," Carrie giggled. "I didn't think he'd really sell Ryan's stuff." Tessa's voice cut in sharp. "What do you mean, worked?" Carrie paused. I heard her fumble. I didn't think Dad would believe me. I just said Ryan took it so I could get a new one with the robotics funds. I was going to replace it. Eventually. Silence. Then Tessa's voice, low and horrified. "Carrie, did you lie?" A pause. Then a choked whisper. "Yeah, but I didn't think. He wasn't supposed to actually sell it." I stood there, heart pounding, the air around me suddenly too thin. My own daughter had lied, and I'd believed her without question. I had destroyed my son's world, over nothing. The next morning, I stood outside Ryan's door with a mug of coffee in one hand, and the heaviest apology I'd ever tried to form sitting in my throat. "Ryan," I said, knocking gently. "I need to talk to you. I was wrong." No answer. I waited, hand still hovering near the doorknob, even though I knew it was locked. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Carrie lied. I know that now." She admitted it. "You didn't steal anything." I messed up." The silence was brutal. I knocked again, softer this time. "Just open the door, please." Footsteps. Then the door opened a few inches. Ryan stood there, shirt rumpled, face blank. Not angry, not even tired. Just finished. "You sold everything," he said. I couldn't meet his eyes. "I thought. You didn't ask. You didn't even ask me." "I know. I should've. I'm sorry." Ryan nodded slowly. "You can keep your apology." "Ryan." He cut me off with a quiet but sharp voice. "The gear. Yeah, that hurt. But it's not just about that. It's that you believed her without hesitation. Like you were waiting for an excuse. That's not fair." "No," he said. "What's not fair is that I was guilty the moment she cried." He didn't yell. He didn't slam the door. He just pushed it shut again, quietly locking it. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Ryan, using Danny's phone. Please don't contact me anymore unless it's an emergency. I'm moving out today." I stood there in the garage rereading the message over and over. Like if I stared hard enough it would morph into something less final. I ran into the house. His room was already half empty. The bed made, the closet bare. A single folded towel sat on the dresser. I drove to Danny's house that night, even though every part of me knew it wouldn't do a damn bit of good. Danny's parents opened the door and didn't even pretend to smile. "I just want to talk to him," I said. They exchanged a glance. Then Danny's mom stepped forward. "Tom, he doesn't want to talk. He made that clear to all of us. I just need 5 minutes." "I'm sorry," she said, softer this time. "He doesn't want contact." I nodded, not because I accepted it, but because I didn't know what else to do. Back home, I found Carrie in the living room with a notebook on her lap. "I wrote him a letter," she said, eyes puffy. "Will you take it?" I hesitated. "He might not read it." "I know, but I have to try." She handed it to me. Just her name on the front in small, uneven handwriting. I drove it over the next day and left it with Danny's mom. There was no reply. We started therapy the week after. Me, Carrie, and Tessa. 3 chairs and a box of tissues. Ryan never joined, never called, never came home. And just like that, we became a family with a hole in it no one could fill. I sat on the edge of Ryan's empty bed late one Saturday afternoon, staring at the bare wall where his record shelf used to be. The room didn't smell like him anymore. It smelled like dust and old wood and absence. The letter came that morning in a small white envelope with no return address. My name on the front. Just Tom, not Dad. I hadn't opened it right away. I'd made coffee, paced the kitchen, checked the mailbox again like maybe something else would be there to soften the blow. There wasn't. When I finally read it, I had to sit down halfway through. It wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. It was something worse, calm, sharp, final. "I'm not writing for closure. There won't be any. I'm just writing because I want to make it clear this isn't about the gear. You always believed Carrie, even when she lied. This wasn't the first time. It was just the time that finally broke the dam." He listed things I'd forgotten, or maybe never really paid attention to. The middle school project Carrie blamed him for ruining, even though it was her who spilled juice on the cardboard model. The broken remote she insisted he stole, only for it to show up in her backpack weeks later. The phone charger that went missing, the lost allowance money, the time she said he called her names because he told her to stop yelling during a video call. I had believed her every time. And every time, I'd scolded him, told him to be patient with his sister, told him to let it go. "You never saw me," the letter read. "You saw a problem to solve. You saw her as the one to protect, and me as the one to fix things. Even when it was never mine to fix." That part hurt the most, because he was right. I sat there, clutching the paper in my hands like it might vanish. Ryan had moved in with my sister Angela. He was transferring schools, starting over out of state. He didn't say when he decided. He didn't have to. I called Angela after I finished the letter. Her voice was careful, measured. "Is he okay?" I asked. "He's hurt," she said, "but he's safe. He's settling in, looking at a community college nearby." I didn't mean to. "I know, Tom, but you did." I didn't argue. She let the silence hang for a second before adding, "He's not asking for anything. I think he just wants space and some peace." After we hung up, I stayed in his room for hours. I sat through the afternoon and into the dark, turning over every moment I'd let slide. Every time I told myself I was just keeping the house calm. Every time I gave Carrie the benefit of the doubt and handed Ryan the blame. And maybe I didn't mean to do it, but I did it anyway. That night, I laid the letter on my nightstand and turned out the light, feeling every part of what I'd lost. Not a music studio, not just a son, but the chance to ever hear him call me dad again. Ryan's room stayed just the way he left it. Empty shelves, bed still made, closet door open like someone had left in a rush and might be back any second. I told myself I'd clean it out eventually, maybe pack things up into boxes. But every time I crossed the threshold, something in my chest locked up. I'd stand there, looking at nothing, and then turn around and walk back out. Sometimes I caught myself listening for music, like some part of me hadn't accepted it was gone, that he was gone. Carrie barely spoke anymore. She stopped coming down for dinner, stopped leaving notes on the fridge. The light in her room stayed off most nights. Her door was almost always closed, unless she was heading out, usually to her mom's. At first, I thought she just needed time, space. Then one night, I heard her crying behind her door, soft and sharp, like she was trying not to make a sound but couldn't hold it in. I didn't knock. I didn't know what to say that wouldn't make it worse. A couple days later, she asked me something that broke whatever pieces I had left. Do you think he'll ever forgive me? I looked up from the kitchen table. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, face pale. I don't know, I said honestly. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean for all this to happen. I know. She sat down across from me, her hands shaking a little. I ruined everything. He's never going to speak to me again, is he? I didn't try to soften it. Some wounds don't heal just because you say you're sorry. She looked down. I wrote him another letter. I nodded. You want me to mail it? Please don't read it. I won't. I put it in an envelope and mailed it the next morning. No reply came. I started keeping a notebook at night, listing the gear I remembered selling, trying to trace usernames, transaction logs, anything that might help me recover even one piece of it. The synth with the cracked knob went to a guy in Poughkeepsie. The reel-to-reel? Gone without a trace. No email. No receipt. The mixer had already been flipped on eBay within 24 hours. Twice the price I sold it for. I reached out anyway, offered double. No response. Most of the buyers didn't reply. Some had already sold the items again. One guy told me flat out, not my problem. Another said, next time, don't sell sentimental stuff for cheap. I try not to take that personally, but I did. Tessa and I kept going to therapy, though it felt like we were dragging ourselves into it more than anything else. We'd sit on that couch, two people in the same house, but not really living in it. The space between us just as wide as the one Ryan left behind. We were still a family, but the center of it had gone quiet. I wasn't looking for him when I found it. It was just after midnight, a Sunday night slipping into Monday. I couldn't sleep, so I ended up at the kitchen table, aimlessly scrolling on my laptop with a cup of tea going cold beside me. I was flipping through a forum I hadn't visited in years, an old message board for analog recording hobbyists, when a thread caught my eye. Kid rebuilding a home studio from scratch. Check this out. There was a link to a video. I almost skipped it. Then I saw the thumbnail, a dimly lit room, a cracked keyboard sitting on a folding table, and something about the curve of a familiar arm. I clicked. The video opened with silence. Then Ryan's voice, calm and steady. Hey, so I lost my studio about 2 months ago. Long story, not important. I had two choices, stay mad or start over. I picked this. I froze. The image shifted to his hands unboxing a beat-up cassette recorder. I recognized the model. He talked about wanting one in high school, but couldn't afford it back then. This is the first piece. Found it on a shelf at a thrift store. Still works, kind of. Needs love. His tone wasn't bitter. No mention of what had happened. No rant. No guilt trip. No drama. Just quiet rebuilding. Then came the cracked MIDI keyboard. A secondhand mic with tape wrapped around the base. A tiny mixer with one sticky fader. None of this is fancy, Ryan said, adjusting the mic stand, but it's mine. Every piece has a story now. That makes it better. A cut to him plugging in wires, looping a beat. He smiled at one point, just for a second, but it hit me like a truck. He wasn't broken. He was healing. There was a short message at the end of the video. Thanks to the people who donated gear or left comments. Especially to someone I used to know who said, build something nobody can take away. That stuck with me. So, that's what I'm doing. Then fade to black. I sat there, hands frozen over the trackpad, heart in my throat. It was him. His voice. His posture. But more than that, it was the way he was still reaching forward, creating something, holding on to a sense of self, even after everything I'd ripped away. He didn't say my name. Didn't need to. I watched the video twice more before I let myself cry. Not out of guilt. I'd cried that out already. This time, it was something else. Gratitude, maybe. Relief. The kind that comes when you realize the person you love is still standing, even if you're no longer allowed to stand beside them. I clicked over to the channel's main page. No last name, no profile picture, just the name Rebuild. Wave. There were 3 other videos. All quiet, all showing pieces of equipment being restored, tested, tuned. In the latest one, he mentioned a girl helping him with wiring, someone from his music club in 10th grade. She'd seen the first video and reached out. They'd reconnected. She helped him find old gear and fix the broken stuff. That part made me smile, and ache at the same time. I didn't show the video to Carrie. Not yet. Not until she was ready. I didn't message Ryan. Didn't leave a comment. I just hit subscribe and watched the screen go black. It wasn't a reunion. Not even close. But it was proof of life. And for now, that was more than I deserved and more than I expected. Spring came slow that year. The trees outside the living room window budded late, like they weren't sure if the world was ready. And honestly, neither was I. I kept going to therapy, not because it felt good, because it didn't, but because it was the only place where I didn't pretend. I sat on that stiff couch every Thursday and picked through years of habits I didn't know I'd built. The way I'd assigned roles in our house without meaning to. Carrie, the emotional one. Ryan, the logical one. Me, the rule enforcer. No space for nuance. No effort to understand. Just results. I started keeping a notebook after my sessions. Not for memories, but for accountability. Every time I wanted to reach out to Ryan, I wrote it down instead. Every time I missed him. Every time I saw a used synth online and wondered what he'd think of it. Just quiet pages full of the ache I didn't deserve to unload on him. Then, about 6 weeks after I found his video, a small box showed up in the mail. One of the community buyers I'd begged had relisted something. Ryan's tape delay pedal. I bought it back. Paid double what I sold it for. Didn't care. I cleaned it, carefully packed it in foam, and shipped it to Angela's address with no note inside. No name. No expectation, just the pedal, wrapped like something fragile. A week later, I found another listing, his old dynamic mic. I bought that too. Then the busted vinyl he'd sampled for a school project in junior year. One piece at a time, like assembling a puzzle I knew would never be complete. I didn't tell Carrie, not at first, but one night, she came into the living room while I was cleaning an old turntable I'd found in the garage. She didn't say anything for a while, just stood by the door in her pajamas, hair tied back. Is that one of his? No, I said, but I think it's the same model he used to want. She crossed the room slowly, then sat on the floor beside me. I started therapy too, she said. Mom helped me find someone. I looked at her. How's it going? She gave a small shrug. Hard, but good. I nodded. That's all it has to be right now. We didn't say much after that. Just sat there, side by side, wiping dust off the past. A few days later, a package arrived. A vintage drum machine, silver, boxy, with neon orange buttons. The exact model Ryan used to rave about. He had a poster of it on his bedroom door once. Back when he was 15. I'd set an alert for it 6 months ago. Had almost given up hope. I mailed it to Angela's house the same day. No note. No return label. Just a final piece of something I couldn't rebuild, but could at least return. I don't expect to hear from him. Not anymore. That's not the point. He's building something new now. Something his. I'm not part of it, and maybe I never will be again. But I know he's standing. And here, back home, we're finally starting to learn how to stand too. Not by fixing what we broke, but by choosing to be better with what's left.